So someone asked me the question, how does one balance between reality and potential? How do you navigate the space when really all you're trying to do is, be with this person? That is the question that we answered in My Black Feelings. But first, hey sunshine, I'm Dr. Donna, a sex and relationship therapist in the Washington, D.C. metro area, helping black women feel free, fabulous, and effed. Because, I'm trying to keep it clean as possible. Anyway, as I was saying, we were having this lovely conversation about that space between potential and reality, and trying to figure out how do we even begin to navigate that space. So here are a couple of things that I offered. I offered these three. Number one, potential is a wish. Number two, it can be nurtured. And number three, conversations make it clear what the next steps actually are. So let's get into this. Let's start with number one. So potential is a wish, meaning that potential is a wish if there's actually no action. And to that end, what I'm saying here is it's not based in truth. While I can appreciate that we have a love of and want to do a seeking out of how someone has potential, potential is beautiful, it's delicious, it's lovely. And if there is nothing else, that's all there is. So sometimes knowing is half the battle. If you simply know that this thing is potential that has not been potentiated, then I want you to act like it is still potential, not like it is already grounded and seen throughout your reality. So that's one way, awareness. Number two, in this race on balancing between potential and reality, is we have to remember that potential can be nurtured. It can be nurtured in yourself. It can be nurtured in other people. But it is going to require accountability and willingness to do what is required. Now, why do I say that? I say that because sometimes we're so caught up in the potential that we haven't even asked a tough question of whether or not this person wants to be held to account to do the thing that you are talking about, or whether or not you are willing to do the work that it takes to get to the thing that you want. Accountability becomes a name of the game. Potential, again, is just that. And potential, like fruits, vegetables, and anything else that you buy for your house, it can be wasted. Which is to say that some people just will never realize their potential. And not because that makes them a bad person or an evil person or a lazy person, but sometimes they don't have the resources to do it. Resources like money, time, energy, all of these things take something. Like, to reach your potential, there is a cost. And the cost is in how much time you have to spend. The cost is in how much money you have to give. All of these things are part of the conversation. And quite frankly, I don't know that we're always willing to have that part of the conversation. So, and this piece, willingness, right? The willingness. Because sometimes you see potential in someone and you're just like, dang, they have so much potential. They could do this, they could do this, they could do this, they could make this, they could make that. Yes, they could. Do they want to? That's the question. Do they want to? As a matter of fact, when people tell you that you have potential, you have to also ask yourself, do you want to? Is that the way that you want to spend the resources that we're talking about, right? Is that how you want to spend your resources? Is that how you want to spend your time, your money, your energy to develop this thing from potential to potential? I think that we have to ask ourselves that question. And sometimes you need to have that conversation with the other person that is involved, because sometimes we are wishing, hoping, waiting for them to meet a potential that, number one, they may not realize that they have, and number two, that they do not have a willingness to place their resources in. So in a sense, we're sort of waiting around on nothing. Which brings us to number three, converse. Conversations help to make clear what the steps are, and your goal here within this conversation that you may have with yourself or with whoever else it is, lover, friend, whoever it is that you're seeing this potential is, have that conversation and then make sure that you are listening. that you are paying attention, because they're going to tell you the answer. Watch, listen to what is actually being communicated, because number one, they will tell you about where they believe their potential lies and whether or not they want to do it. They're going to say it with their mouth. But once someone professes it with their tongue, you must also watch their feet. Because some people will say the right things because they know that you want to be with somebody that has so much potential. But you also want them to realize that potential, which means that you got to watch their feet, because people will lie to you with their mouths all day. They will talk about what they are going to do all day. But if you are not seeing them make moves toward that thing, then it is very likely that the potential that you see is not in your head because it's real, but it's going to stay in their head because they're not ready to realize it with the actions that they are taking. I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to sprinkle a little of my own tea here. So, I have been with people that I thought had great potential. I have been one of those people. I've been a potential dater, right? You date people with the potential, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, what I realized, I had to realize that for me, I was dating so much potential that I was losing sight of the reality. And the reality was that while I saw potential, this person wasn't ready to meet potential. And that's okay, right? I just had to know that for myself, exit stage left, and then choose something different, right? It's like, hey, I see that you have so much potential, and while I would love to be around to watch you meet that potential, I'm not under the impression that that is something that you're wanting for yourself. Do you think it's something that you're wanting for yourself? How do you know that it's something that you're wanting for yourself? What steps will you be taking for it to become a part of your reality and not just the potential that never potentied? These are part of the conversations that you could have, right, with somebody. Now, I'm telling you that I have had these type of conversations with people, and I was just like, it's okay. You have potential, and that's what it will be. Because you're not ready at this time, and I am unwilling and unable to wait for you to be potential. Now, a word on this potential and the potential piece. I know that there is a lot of rhetoric outside that is saying that you don't need to be with somebody who has potential. You need to be with somebody who is already potential. Now, if that is your requirement, make sure that you make that plain. Make sure that that is what you're seeking, and make sure that what you're saying that you want is in alignment with the behaviors you have, right? But for those of you who are dating people or seeking to date others or friend others or are simply loving others who have potential but have not yet potential, there's nothing wrong with you for being willing to be a part of someone's journey to getting to the place where they are potential. There's nothing wrong with you. And I know that there's a lot of rhetoric outside that would say that you are a sucker, that something is wrong with you, da-da-da-da-da. Everybody got something to say, but everybody's not in your relationship. You are in your relationship. And the relationship I'm talking about is the relationship with yourself, about what you are willing, able, and have time to go along with, to help with, to place your resources into. But also, you're in a relationship with that person, whether that person is a lover or a friend or a family member. You know what you have time, space, and energy to also give to them. You know the way that you are willing to engage with them, and only you know whatever your cutoff is. Do not let social media dictate to you when you should be done, because the only person that really knows that is you. You get to put as much time as you are willing, and no one can tell you that you are wrong, only what they would do instead. And you can listen to what those people have to say, because, you know, sometimes people got advice. And it's okay to listen to advice, but every piece of advice you hear is not a piece of advice you must heed. You still ultimately have to take accountability for your life, make the choices for yourself, and if need be, change your mind and change it again until you get to where you're trying to be. Because no one is living your life but you. Now, in this conversation about the potential and the potential, a book came up. Now, I personally have not read this book, but it's called Relational Intelligence. And it came up, and the person did mention that it is kind of preachy, kind of churchy. But they said that that this book helped them in how they were relating to others, because that's ultimately what potential versus reality is. It's about the relation to yourself and to others, and how you're going to navigate that space on the in-between. But here's my final word to you. If we are not careful, we will get used to potential and trick ourselves into believing that we are satisfied. What I mean by that is, oftentimes people will tell me that they're happy or that they enjoy something, etc., etc., but that's not true. What you mean to say is you got used to it. You got used to not having. You got used to not being. You got used to not seeing. And so you take what you got and you learn to be satisfied with it. And while there is strength in learning to just be satisfied with the thing that is in front of your face, do not rewrite the history to make your satisfaction your happiness. Do not rewrite history to say that the thing that you have become used to seeing actually satisfies you, because it oftentimes is not true. I want you to make sure that you are remembering that it is okay for you to be satisfied with what you've got and still want more. Both can be true. You can have potential, meet potential, and seek more. All right, that is all I've got today. So remember, discourse, not disrespect. I want you to hit me in the comments. How do you navigate that space between potential and reality? And I want it in all the places that you may have it, in your romantic relationships, friendships, family relationships, and the relationship that you have with yourself. How are you navigating between what you see as potential and what you are doing with feet to reach potential? All right, y'all. Until next time, see ya.